Hey guys, so have you ever been so tired that your body is begging for sleep, but your mind just will not turn off? You replay conversations, you think about tomorrow, you worry about things you can't control, you analyze projects from 1997. It's as if your brain just forgot someone was supposed to switch off and go to bed. If you've ever experienced that, you are not alone. There's also nothing wrong with you. But for centuries, herbalists have recognized this experience not just as stress, but as a particular pattern of nervous system imbalance. Notice I said imbalance, not something there's wrong with you. So today's plant has earned a reputation for situations just like this. So today's plant is, if you notice from the thumbnail, Skullcap, right? So Skullcap's botanical name is Scutellaria lateriflora. Apparently the cat got too close to the porch. Belongs in the mint family. So if you've been following this channel, you'll recognize some very familiar traits, right? Fergus. Square stems, opposite leaves, small tubular flowers. Unlike peppermint or lemon balm though, Skullcap is not strongly aromatic and it is very easily overlooked. It doesn't demand attention, right? But sometimes the quiet plants also deserve a place in our apothecary. So why is it called Skullcap? Well, if you take a close look at the flower, after it blooms, the seed capsule develops a tiny projection that reminded early botanists of a miniature helmet or skull cap. So that's where the name comes from. Not because it treats your skull, but not because of some folklore of some magical whatevers, simply because someone stopped, observed the plant, and said, that looks like skull cap. So again, observation is your most valuable skill as an herbalist. Memorize all you want, but until you actually go out there and play with it, it's just not going to make sense. Now, where's it at? American skullcap is native to North America. You'll often find it growing along stream banks, woodland edges, moist meadows. It grows a lot here in the Ozarks. It enjoys rich soil, partial shade, and if you're going to harvest the seeds for yourself and grow them, it does have to have a cold stratification period, right? You can't just put them in the ground and hope for the best. Traditional usage. Now, we're going to talk about why it was valued for so many generations, right? We're not doing the clickbait. Skullcap is the best herb ever. That's not how herbalists think. That's how trendy people think. So, traditionally, Skullcap has been used when someone appeared mentally overextended, restless, or like they just simply could not turn off their brain and get a period of rest. It's very different from saying cure for anxiety and insomnia, which what the clickbaits do. As herbalists, we don't match herbs to diagnoses. We match herbs to people. We ask, what is the person's story? How did they get here? And what pattern are they experiencing? Two people could be presenting with the same diagnosis from a doctor, right, or a naturopath, but need two different herbs depending on who they are, right? So, one reason Skullcap continues to interest researchers is its naturally occurring flavonoids. There's like balicillium and baca. There are names about this long, right? So we're not going to worry about memorizing those names or me trying to pronounce them. The important lesson is plants contain chemistry, as we know. Their traditional actions are not magic. They're rooted in compounds that the plants naturally produce, and modern research is still exploring how those compounds work. But it's one more reason herbalists respect the traditional knowledge and scientific investigation around these plants, right? So there's several ways Skullcap is traditionally prepared. A tea is a gentle option and can be a pleasant way to become familiar with the herb itself. Many herbalists also do skullcap tinctures, but the fresh plant tincture is particularly valued by some because that freshness pulls out certain constituents you can't get once the plant is dried, right? So there isn't necessarily one best preparation. It's just, what am I trying to accomplish with this herb, this person? What are my goals, right? So we do need to stop and talk about some of the not fun parts, right? So it's important that we never forget that herbs are living and breathing, and safety is our number one concern, right? Every herb has strengths, and every herb deserves respect. Skullcap is generally well tolerated by many people, but that doesn't mean it's appropriate for everyone. Some people will feel pleasantly relaxed, others become sleepy, and a small number of people report unusually vivid dreams or even nightmares. And some of those reports are, not necessarily confirmed by clinical studies, but they're worth paying attention to because you don't want to be that one person that's having nightmares all the time. So, because skullcap may cause drowsiness, it's best to see how your body responds before, you go driving around, operating heavy machinery, or do anything that requires your full attention. If you're taking medications that already affect your central nervous system, such as sedatives, anti-anxiety medicine, anything with a calming effect, you need to talk to your doctor before using skullcap, because combining herbs with the similar, things can actually cause very unwanted side effects. If you're pregnant, breastfeeding, we don't have enough research really to say skullcap is good, right? So definitely, as always, talk to your medical professionals before we just start pounding plants. So there's one more point that's worth mentioning. Years ago, some products sold as skullcap were linked to liver problems. Later investigation suggested that many of those products likely had been contaminated with germander, a different plant known to have liver toxicity concerns. That's one reason I always encourage people to purchase from reputable suppliers. Thanks to a comment from one of my viewers, I will start putting a link below for where I get my stuff. I get nothing from that link, but it's always good to not gatekeep our good resources, right? So we're going to tie this back to our last video. So remember when I said stress isn't one thing? Well, neither is nervous system support. If someone walked onto my porch right now, one of my friends showed up and they're like, whoa, I am so stressed, which could happen, right? We're all mothers. So I wouldn't automatically hand them skullcap, like, here, take this, right? I'd ask questions. Are you physically exhausted? Are you emotionally overwhelmed? Are you unable to sleep? Are you grieving something? Right? Grief can be many different forms. It could be death of what we thought should be, right? Are you taking any medications? Are you pregnant? Are you working overnights all of a sudden? Did you drink 6 cups of coffee today? That might be your problem, right? Those answers matter, right? Because herbalists don't just know herbs, right? They ask questions. And that's what separates those who memorize herbs from those who actually practice herbalism. So, homework for this video. If you have skullcap, I want you to spend some time with it. If not, I want you to get a book out and I want you to look at it. If you have an apothecary next to you, go get a small amount, right? I want you to notice the square stems. I want you to smell the dried herb. If it's appropriate for you, I want you to make a simple tea. I want you to observe it. I want you to taste it. And I want you to write down your impressions of it, right? Hands-on experience is the best way with this stuff. Then compare it to another nervine you might already have, like lemon balm, chamomile, or lavender. If you want more on those, I have done those videos, right? How are they similar? How are they different? I want you building those comparisons is how you start to think why lavender might be better for someone versus skullcap, or passion flower you would want to use instead of this, right? So one of the greatest lessons plants teach us is humility. No herb is perfect. No herb is right for everyone. And no herb should be used without understanding both its strengths and limitations. Skullcap has quietly earned the respect of herbalists for generations, not because it's a miracle plant, but because when matched thoughtfully to the right person and used responsibly, it has a long valued place in herbal practice. In our next video, we're going to meet another remarkable nervous system herb and continue to build on our understanding of this fascinating body system. And I do think it's important to understand the systems, right? I see a lot of bad stuff out there. And I don't think the intent is to ever do harm. I think people get excited. And the excitement's great, but the excitement can do real harm. Just because it's good for this doesn't mean it's good for everyone. And I think without stressing that, people actually can do some long-term damage to themselves. You have to know what plant families everything comes from. You have to understand all of this, because if you, maybe skullcap's great, but if you're allergic to things in the mint family, it might do a lot more harm than good for you. So we're going to keep building on this. I'm going to keep harping away from best herb ever. This will cure any of that mess. It's just not how plants work. And I'm just tired. So I'll get off my soapbox now. But anyway, until next time, I want you to stay rooted, stay curious, and as always, keep growing in grace.